Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm getting things ready. Sorry, I'm a little bit late tonight. It's been a big week. It's been a big week, but we are here tonight. It is time for the Warp Zone episode 9, and we've got a pretty decent show tonight. At least I think we've got some really interesting stuff to talk about. Um, I, you know what, Grovel? I've heard mixed reviews of Sparking Zero. Now, I haven't watched any official reviews, but I've been watching gameplay, and reception on Sparking Zero seems to be half and half. And honestly, I think I'm gonna wait for a sale on that one. Number one, I'm pretty sure it's gonna hit the Switch 2 when the Switch 2 does come out. Um, it's just I've played the Dragon Ball storyline so many goddamn times. However, it does look really interesting because apparently there's like parallel storylines and stuff. But I'm interested. However, I'm not sure I'm interested at full price right now, just because also there's so many games coming out, and I'm like already overloaded with games. By the way, I still have a bit left on Echoes of Wisdom, but I should be done very soon. I've just been sidetracked playing a few other games that I really had to play, try, get out of the way like really quickly. So I had to actually put down Echoes of Wisdom a bit, and I've been also really um, focused on doing all the side crap. Like, I beat the best races with the horses to get all the unlocks, like with the better times. I went to get the Lionel summons, and like I've been really exploring the land without checking out videos, but by myself, trying to figure out all the crap on my own. So I'm really like trying to enjoy the game amazingly, and I am. Like, the more I play it, the more I'm into it. Um, yeah, I'm obsessed as well. It is my game, and I saw an article. We're not actually going to talk about it tonight because I wanted to do my own research because I find they didn't go deep enough. But apparently, Echoes of Wisdom's map is very linked to A Link to the Past. There's a lot of iconic zones in that are reproduced in Echoes of Wisdom that are actually almost directly pulled from A Link to the Past. A Link to the Past is my favorite Zelda game of all time. So I think that's why I feel so like I'm so obsessed with that game. But um, you know, my review will be coming out soon because even though I'm uber late, we are still going to be doing a review of Echoes of Wisdom. Probably no one's gonna watch it, but you know what? It doesn't really matter because I love the game so much. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to try to do a different type of review like I did this week for SpongeBob, but on the opposite spectrum. SpongeBob was like complaining about the game for like 8.5 minutes. On the other hand, Echoes of Wisdom is going to be like probably raving about the game for like a good decent amount of time. I'm still going to try to keep it under 10 minutes because I find when reviews go above 10 minutes, it's just like I don't want to spoil anything about the game. I don't want to start explaining each and every mechanic one by one. That I find I used to do in reviews, and I find myself when I watch reviews, I don't want the review to explain to me all the mechanics. I want it to talk to me about the good stuff, the bad stuff, what should I expect? And that's how I want to direct my reviews. But I'm going to be talking about, like, in a general sense, like what I loved the most about the game, what I didn't maybe like as much, and give it an overall score. But yes, everyone, hit that like button. Let's get things going. And we have a awesome show tonight. We're going to be talking F-Zero news. We're going to be talking TMNT Shredder's Revenge, a new physical edition, which is sort of a love-hate thing for me tonight, which I'm going to explain why it's a love-hate thing for me. After that, we're going to be talking about Nintendo unfortunately entering into what I feel is like their villain arc. Um, it's not going to be an all-out like negative fest, but I hope like I hope they just line up. I hope what I think is happening is not happening once again because we've seen this happen with Nintendo before. I just hope that they're just like lining up their legal stuff, and after that they're just going to get back to business as usual, because I think that's when Nintendo is at its best. But we're going to talk about that in a lot of details. Other than that, what else do we have on the lineup here? I'm all disorganized on my sheets, which is a little bit annoying for me. Oh, we have a few announcements, like a few random announcements that I want to go over. And then obviously, as usual, we're going to look at the new Switch games to look out for the next week. But we're going to add in a new section, or it's not going to be there every week, but this week we're also going to be looking at one game to watch out for on the negative sense. One game that I want to point out that if you are interested in it whatsoever, make 100% sure that you wait till reviews come out, especially after the SpongeBob situation. I do not pick up this game till we know what it's all about. Not sure I'm going to bite the bullet this time myself, because that experience was really like awful. And I hate wasting my time playing bad games just to talk about how bad a game is. But, you know, that's part of the job, isn't it? So I'm going to say hi to everyone first in the chat. We've got a lot going on, man. A lot of action tonight. Well, hey, Grovel. Hey, Squirrel Swirl. Hey, Nanaki, welcome. Frenchie Mom, glad to see you're here. I play with toys, my friend, man. Awesome. Glad you're playing Sparking Zero right now. DJ No Good. Annie M, how you doing? Andrew, welcome. Am I missing anyone? Champ Dancer, welcome as well. I saw some new people. Oh, yeah, Carrion Crow. I think you've been gone for a little while, Crow, or at least I noticed you less in the last few things. Glad to have you back. Needless Dragon, Rodrigo, welcome everyone. Okay, let's get started. Now I just gotta close this because I was like making sure I wasn't missing any last minute announcements before this got started. Let's cut this. Let's go grab this, and there we go. So as usual, links to all the articles, videos that I'll show in the show will be in the description of the video down below. So if you do enjoy the stories, go drop a like on the videos, go take a look at the webpage Nintendo Life. Actually, I think I've got a couple of their links up tonight. They have an amazing website. I love the way they cover events. A little bit partisan from time to time, but nonetheless, I think they do an awesome job of covering the good, the bad, and everything in between. The first story I want to talk about is one that has me even more excited, and it's actually related to the F-Zero video I did last week. So if you guys didn't watch that video, the gist of it is that we are getting, actually in 3 days, 2 brand new F-Zero games, brand new for us on the Switch, because we are getting 2 new games from the Game Boy Advance that is going to become available on the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack, which is the one from the Game Boy Advance, which is, oh my god, F-Zero, oh my god, I always have a blank, GP Legends, and F-Zero, the one from Japan that's never been released, which is the one I'm really excited about. Basically started getting me very excited that we might actually get a brand new F-Zero game. And lo and behold, we have some even more F-Zero news, because F-Zero 99 has been receiving constant updates since last year. And it's really weird because Nintendo, with a lot of their 99 games, except for Tetris and F-Zero, they've sort of dropped them, then just let them go. But for really Tetris and now F-Zero 99, there's been constant updates. And apparently there's just been a data mine that has suggested that there's a big update coming. And we're going to read what the update is supposed to be. But as I said, I think it pushes even further the narrative that we might be getting a brand new F-Zero game. And personally, I think it's going to be something that will hit early in the life cycle of the next Nintendo Switch. I think they might try to push F-Zero as like a groundbreaking series to present maybe once again the graphical prowess of our next Switch, because what does that better than racing games? Like if we're talking graphical prowess and refinement, I do think racing games do very well. And you know what? Nintendo's done very well with racing games in the past. I mean, Mario Kart is their biggest selling title. If they can get another franchise to get like racing for casual and serious people, I do think it is a good move for them. But let's read the story here. So basically, F-099, there was a data mine, and according to the summary of Luigi Blood's findings, where you can go look at the Tumblr post for yourself, it's linked in the article that's linked in the description of the video. The event references is just text that's been localized outside of English, meaning that there's very little to go off as of details. But what we can know is that the data mine suggests that the event will include a mini Mario League and an additional star rivals named Mario, Mini Mario, Donkey Kong, and Toad. And judging by the previous 99 events, we do expect that the festival will be a limited event affair. So they've done this before with limited time events. However, now they're going with their biggest properties. They're going with Mario, Donkey Kong, Toad. This to me is that they're setting up so that everyone knows what F-Zero is. On top of it, releasing the Game Boy Advance games with a game that's never been released in North America, I have an even bigger feeling that we're getting a new F-Zero game. And I put out that story, like you have no idea, like I'm a huge F-Zero fan. I loved it on the Super Nintendo. I played it a ton on the Game Boy Advanced, which is why I'm really hoping we get a new entry in the series. And honestly, I just realized that I didn't invest enough time in F-099. I tried it when it came out, but things being what they are and so many games coming out, I didn't keep up with it, and now I'm really disappointed that I didn't. So I'm going to try to jump back into the game, but it is one of those franchises that I really think if Nintendo does the right thing, we could have like a Mario Kart like adjacent property here. Obviously, I don't expect it to hit the top, but I do think that a lot of people that like Switch racing might be able to connect with both properties, and it gives a nice alternative from one game to the other, because even me with my family that we loved Mario Kart, I do sometimes feel sad that there's no really accessible kart racers, because there is Team Sonic Racing, there is Crash Nitro Racing, but both those games I find are less beginner friendly than something like Mario Kart, and F-Zero often has that easy to pick up gameplay. It has some pretty hard races in it when you're like trying to do it. But if we're talking about casual play, I do find that F-Zero is very approachable. The basic concepts are super easy. Don't touch the side of the course, hit the boost pads, and obviously there's more to it than that, but what I mean is that a casual gamer can get around with that. Just like you can play Mario Kart with simple drifting, or even like one of my youngest daughter doesn't even drift at all, and she still races and has fun with the family. But seriously, I am super excited for this. I'm really glad to see that, and even if we don't get that sequel, I'm at least glad to know that they're putting time into the F-099, because like I said, it's an awesome franchise, and I'm really, really under the suspicion that on the next Switch, we are going to be getting a new game. It's very rare that Nintendo does such a focus on a property like this without lining up a new game. If you think of everything they did before announcing Metroid Prime 4 and Metroid Dread, like, think of all the little Metroid drops we got from the Game Boy Advance games and everything. They did the exact same lineup before finally officially announcing Metroid Prime 4. I think they want to do that with their older properties now, especially the ones that have been sort of dormant for a little while. Give us little member berries of like, hey, do you remember this game? Hey, do you remember this game? Oh yeah, cool. Guess what? Here's a new game. That's going to be their like MO, I think, for these older properties that they haven't touched in a while. And I think it's a super good idea, and it's going to work out for them. But overall, that is our first story for tonight. Let me know in the comments down below if you think we're going to be getting a new F-Zero game. We can keep the discussion going down there. That's something I haven't done in the previous episodes, but you know what? For all of you that want to chat to one another and keep the conversations going, drop it in the comments down below. You know, I think we can get things going that way, because obviously we do in the chat here, but with the format of the show, obviously we have to move from story to story, and yeah, that could be a super good idea. Okay, let's move on to our next topic, because there's a few I want to get out pretty quick at the beginning. I have awesome ideas about them, but at the same time, let's not dwell on them too long. Next, let's jump right into Shredder's Revenge. So, Limited Run Games announced yet again another new edition of TMNT Shredder's Revenge called the Shredder's Revenge Ultimate Edition, which, surprise, surprise, lo and behold, it is because now it includes all the DLC, which means that it includes the original Shredder's Revenge. It includes the first DLC where we got Yojimbo, which is Dimensions something Dimensions, and then we got the new one with the Lizards DLC. You know, guys know I'm terrible with names, but that's the gist of it. We got Yojimbo and Kasai in the first one, and in this one we got a Mona Lisa and we got a Mondo Gecko. And basically, oh, and the survival mode, obviously, that we got from the previous one, and the new soundtrack in this third one. And like I said, this is going to be my love-hate story of the night. I love Shredder's Revenge. I love the DLC. If you watch, once again, I do have a playthrough of the first like 25 minutes of both characters on the channel. By the way, off camera after that, I finished a full playthrough with Mondo Gecko because I really like enjoyed his gameplay. And basically, so I love talking about Shredder's Revenge. I love that we're getting yet again another physical edition. We're going to go take a look at the Ultimate Edition because it does have some really interesting stuff in there. But before I'm going to get my little 2 cents out, the part that I'm hating about this is, number one, when Limited Run Games started, one of their whole things is that all the DLC will always be on the cartridge. And often with early releases from them, they would wait for the physical edition of a game till DLC came out because they wanted to release an edition with all the DLC. And I'm sort of a little annoyed now that this is the third physical edition of Shredder's Revenge, because they're sort of breaking that promise. Because right now, just to let you guys know, I own Shredder's Revenge twice physically, plus a digital version, but that was a review code, so I can't complain about the digital edition. But I bought it physically twice because I bought the first one. Then when the DLC came out, I wanted to have the full version of the game physically, so I bought the version with the DLC, and they called it the Anniversary Edition, and they didn't let us know that more DLC was coming. And now, if I want a full edition of the game, I have to buy it for a third goddamn time, which is a little bit annoying. And had I known, like, I'm not going to complain about the first version of the game. It was such a big release. I can't blame them for right away getting out a physical edition. I think a lot of people wanted that right away. It was a little scummy that they didn't tell you DLC was coming, but at the same time, I get it. It's not that bad. My problem is the in-between. Had I known that there was more DLC coming out with a yet again another physical edition, I would have skipped the second one. And obviously, that was part of their marketing plan. They wanted people to triple dip on this game, which is why, you know, they didn't say, here's the new edition, but wait, we have more DLC coming out. But at the same time, I get why they did it. They're going to make more money, but it is a tiny bit scummy, because it should not be like that. It should just really not be like that. On top of it, they took the chance to make a new vinyl set when the original vinyl set, anyway, was already being sold. You sort of see where I'm coming from here. It's like like choose your lane. Don't say you're going to release games with all the DLC on it so you don't need updates and blah blah blah, and then release it. And on top of it, the game received multiple updates gameplay wise. If you play the game, you know that it plays similar but nonetheless very different to the original release. Like, they did do a lot of refinement with the gameplay, which I'm not complaining about, but nonetheless that means that you don't have the finished version of the game if you have the first version. But it is something that I hope does not happen again. And the worst is, I love the developers here. They're actually from my hometown of Montreal. So they're like, I love the development studio behind it. And I do think that they're signed to NDAs, so they can't even, it's not like, I don't think they are the ones trying to hide it. At least I don't think complicitly, because the way they developed this game, to me, their fans are more important than making some quick bucks on another physical edition. But yes, if you want the ultimate collector's edition, it's another $125. When they already came out with a collector's edition before, that was, I feel like saying 175, something around that. But what comes in it, however, is pretty interesting. I would say it's better than the previous editions. Personally, I'm trying to get a blown up image here. Hold on. Let's do this. I prefer, let's grab this here. I like being able to zoom. Okay. Okie doke. Here, we get, this is much better. Okay. So basically what you're getting this time, now I'm shifting gears, okay? I've said my piece, but I don't want to dwell on it. Let's nonetheless look at what's offering here, because I do find that if you are one of the lucky people that have held out till now, this is possibly the best physical edition they've released. Okay, this is possibly the best physical edition, at least collector-wise, because I love the figures. And these are exclusive, okay? They are repaints of the original figures, or the remake of the original figures from Playmates, but they are original repaints that are supposed to never be repainted anywhere else. Now, does that mean that it's a huge difference? No, it's sort of like what they did with Gargoyles, but that was even worse, because it was like one Goliath figure, and you could actually buy the Goliath figure and the regular edition of the game for like half the price that it was to buy it from Limited Run, which, like, there's no way you should pay double price for a reprint, like a reprint. These are $15 figures, so we've got $60 here. We've got $30 for the game minimum, like 35. So $15 figures, $60, 95. You add in the soundtrack, let's say another $20. We're actually at the price of these items individually that they should be. Okay, so to be 100% honest, for once, the addition of the separate items actually makes sense price-wise with what they're selling it for, because you're getting a set of 4 figures with this. And if you've bought the Playmates figures, they're like between $10 to $15. Okay, so just saying. But yes, you're right, the shipping worldwide is going to kill you. It's going to cost an arm and a leg. So if you're local US, it's probably not so bad, but if you're outside of the US, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. Okay, yeah, exactly. From Champ, that's actually cheap for them. I think they took feedback. Because a lot of people complained about the previous edition. I made a whole video on how it was overpriced and how I was not buying it, because I bought the Japanese special edition. But yeah, the only thing is, yeah, be prepared. This is most likely going to take a year or two. Although Playmates generally is pretty, they're a high volume production company for figures. So maybe this one will come out relatively quickly. Because honestly, what holds up these editions are the exclusive items here. We might get this fast. But so yeah, basically you're getting a awesome box here for the game. Look, can't say anything about how nice their boxes are. If you like, for display purposes, it is nice. You're going to get a version of the game You're also going to get a lithograph set, medium on that one. But the key items here are the 4 figures that you're getting, which are original repaints that are supposed to be exclusive to this set. And you're getting a 3-disc soundtrack, which I think will have the original and remixed songs on it. So honestly, it is actually pretty decent for the price here, considering what LRG normally charges. However, like I said, the scummy part for me is the 3rd edition of the same game and trying to basically like gouge people that are fans of the property. If you've never bought any of the collector's editions before, at least I would say you are lucky, because if you finally decide to drop the cash, you're probably getting the best collector's edition at the best price. And yeah, VGP is actually really good for redistribution of games from LRG. If you are in Canada especially, you can often get some really good deals that will save you a ton on the shipping. So you obviously get the adjusted prices because of exchange rates, but at least shipping wise, you sort of save like easily a $10 a game, because shipping to Canada, even for a not collector's edition, is easily like an extra 10 to 15 US. So it really kills the value of buying on LRG for people outside of the US. So that is my rant slash sort of nonetheless publicity for the new Shredder's Revenge Ultimate Edition, because if you have not bought one yet, you're sort of getting the best one. And from what I heard, but look, grain of salt here, please. This should be the last DLC. I heard that Tribute Games is now moving on from Shredder's Revenge, and this was the last DLC, but once again, it could be an NDA situation where they're just not talking about it. Okay, so we are done with this. By the way, if you want just the physical game itself, you can pick up the physical edition, the regular one, for $35. Not too bad. Once again, if you're in the US, shipping costs are decent. And if not, they also came out with a Shredder's Revenge Ultimate Edition vinyl box set, which is a 4 LP vinyl box set. I started collecting vinyls, but I haven't put too much money into it yet. I'm definitely not going to pay $100 for a vinyl set, however. But who knows, maybe I'll manage to pick one up later on. So that is that. We are done with my rant slash publicity for TMNT Shredder's Revenge. So they're sort of getting both ends of the spectrum from me tonight. Next, we're going to talk about a quick game that I missed that came out last week, I feel like, on the Switch. And did it come out last week? Give me a sec. Because I have the game, but I got a review code, so that's why I'm not sure if it came out. Give me a second. I just had like a little brain like fart, and I can't. No, it's coming out on October 28th, but I already have the game, and we've actually already played this game on stream. The only thing is we've played it on stream, however, we've played it on Steam. Now, I'm going to show the trailer. For a lot of you that come to the streams, it will most likely ring a bell. Let's watch the trailer really quick. We're gonna mute the trailer because I'm most likely gonna get copyright struck. Not struck, but copyright claimed. We're gonna turn off the music, okay, guys? So we have The Legend of Santa, which is basically a 2D platformer that has the exact physics of Super Mario 3. Okay, the game feels exactly like Super Mario 3 when you play it. The sound was not coming out anyways. Good thing. I'll turn it on for future trailers, though. So let's re-talk about the trailer. So if you've watched it on stream, it is basically exactly like Super Mario Bros. 3 physics, but it was a bite-sized game. When I played it on Steam, by the way, it was unfixable finished. We only had 2 worlds. There are now 3 worlds in the game, making it still bite-sized, but slightly less bite-sized than it was. If you like 2D platformers, if you like bite-sized ones, it's going to be something that is super interesting. Like I said, I do already have a review code for it. I just haven't put it on the priority list of games to play, simply because I've played it before, but I am looking forward to playing it on the Switch once again. I'm most likely going to do a quick video on it. It's going to be like probably a 5-10 minute video where I go through a few of the levels of the game and give my thoughts on the Switch version, making sure it runs well and all of that. By the way, the developer is a super chill guy. He develops along with friends and family, and super nice guy. He contacted me directly to give me the Switch codes because I helped support him. Well, support him. Like I brought a little bit of publicity to the Steam version of the game, so he wanted to make sure I had a review code for the Switch release. Okay, so super interesting game. If you're into 2D platformers, I definitely think you should take a look. Generally, on top of it, they release their games at very budget prices. Now, I don't have the sales price of the game yet, but I would not be surprised if it's sub $10. It most likely is going to release, I would even say probably around the $5 mark, but I can't promise that because the listing doesn't have a list price yet on it. So we will see, but I did want to say the game is coming out on Switch, and I do think it's worth it if you're a fan of retro 2D platformers. The game is well done. It's a ton of fun. It's just bite-sized. You get 3 little worlds, 3 bosses, and it is basically a pretty straightforward Mario 3 clone, at least on the mechanic side. And I'm going to be careful saying Mario 3 clone because, like I said, Nintendo's on their villain arc. Let's not give them any room to sue us. This is not Mario 3 copied. It is not original code. It just feels like the game. Okay, guys? But that's it. So just a quick shout out for the game. Anyone who would be interested, anyone who saw the previous stream and was wondering when the game would be coming out, because I did mention that it was coming to Switch when we originally played it. That is one thing. Now we have one last little quick story to get out of the way. And this is fresh news, like fresh. Like almost didn't make it to the show. The link is not there yet, but I'll add it in once we're done because the news is so fresh. Sega and Universal announce a Shinobi movie. This is awesome. I mean, and I think Sega, look, let's be honest. Sega's done a good job with Sonic. Are they the best video game movies? Maybe not, but they are very solid and fun movies. You can go with the family. There's some fun parts for adults, and there's some and the movie is accessible to kids. They did a good job. Maybe not as good as Nintendo did with the Mario movie, but they definitely did a good job. Hot take, Splinter over Zordon. The thing is, we've never really seen Zordon do anything other than just being a floating head. Splinter, we've seen him kick some booty. So, did we see Zordon? I think there was like a flashback where he was a ranger in the sort of reboot movie, wasn't there? I think there was. But Splinter has kicked some butt, man. So honestly, I'm giving you that one. I do think I agree with you there. For the moment, Splinter is better than Zordon. Definitely. Yeah, in the fight with Rita, exactly. But theoretically, that movie now is out of canon, if I'm not mistaken. So theoretically, Zordon's never had a real fight. Bryan Cranston played him. That's actually a really awesome little nugget there. That's really cool. I'm wondering what's going to happen with the Power Rangers franchise. Like, I'm looking forward to the game coming out, which we still don't have news, the specific, like a release date or anything. But yeah, Yoda over Splinter. Well, yeah, okay. Definitely Yoda over Splinter. Like, that's not even a question. Like, anyone who says the opposite of that just doesn't know what they're talking about. Just doesn't know what they're talking about. Okay? Definitely Yoda over Splinter. And anyone who wants to argue that, you are welcome to leave the stream. Because, no, it just doesn't happen. Okay? Come on. He's got the Force. And I'm very sorry. You saw him fight in Clone Wars. Even if Splinter has got some moves, like, dude, the guy's like jumping off of walls and crap. But okay, getting back to it, like I just like had a brain like freeze there for a second because I'm like, who the heck could think Splinter could take freaking Yoda? Yoda's the boss. Yoda's like the goat, man. Yoda's the goat, and like I don't even see how they act. They like honestly, the Sidious fight with Yoda should have never happened that way. It should have just never happened that way. Okay, we're trailing off into like my anger towards Star Wars stuff. Let's get back to Shinobi. So basically, this is very, very, very early news, but it comes from Deadline. It's a very quick tweet from Deadline saying that Universal is powering up Sega video game with a Shinobi into movie with Sam Hargraves at the helm. Basically, let's go on the tweet actually. Let's see if we can grab this. Oh, I thought there was a link to like a bigger article. Okay, no, it's just a multi-tweet here. So another Sega video game franchise is heading to the big screen. Shinobi with Sam Hargrave directing for Universal. I'm reading this for the first time, by the way, guys, because like I said, literally 2 minutes before I was going live, I saw this pop up and I was like, dude, we have to talk about this. Ken Kobayashi is writing the screenplay adaptations of the arcade game, which debuted in 1987. The edgy game followed Joe Musashi, a modern-day ninja who confronts great evil. Shinobi spawned 14 games, including spin-offs and ports, for a total of 5 million copies sold around the globe. And a new entry in the series was revealed in late 2023. Yes, because it is one of the revival franchises from Sega. That is right. And Mark Platt and Adam Siegel will produce through Mark Platt Productions. Dimitri M. Johnson will produce through Story Kitchen. And Toru Nakahara will produce through Sega. Mike Goldberg will executive produce alongside Timothy I. Stevenson, who is also co-producing. Honestly, a lot of these guys, I can't tell you what they did before. I recognize some of the names, especially Mark Platt and Adam Siegel, but I can't point to any exact things they did. I just know that there better be a surf scene. I love the answer, man. We're not gonna go too far on Twitter because Twitter sometimes has some NS not safe for work content on there. So we're not gonna go too far into the posts. You know, those bots come in, but yeah, there definitely has to be a surf scene. Let's like that right there. And definitely like that. And let's drop a little repost here. Okay, but seriously, I am super excited. If they can actually get together a really awesome Shinobi movie, and I'm not gonna lie, we haven't had really good ninja movies in a while. Like, I know it's sort of like 80s retro crap, but I always enjoyed mindless ninja movies. As much as I love like Ninja Turtles, I just loved, like, I don't know if you guys ever watched the 80s series American Ninja, which was just complete literal like brain garbage, but it was so much fun to watch. American Ninja was like the worst possible version of imagining what a ninja would be in modern life. And yeah, Beverly Hills Ninja was amazing. Even Surf Ninjas, even Surf Ninjas had its moments. Like there's something about like ridiculous ninja movies that sort of makes sense. Actually, I'm thinking that there was a pretty decent one, Ninja Assassin. Although the story was pretty meh, the action scenes in Ninja Assassin were pretty freaking good. It was Ninja Assassin, right? The one with the sort of boy band guy from Korea. I think it was Korea, right? Yeah, it was Ninja Assassin. Yeah. and it was starring. Hold on, I'm gonna have to mute this. Anyway, some boy, like I can't remember who it was, but I know that like everyone was going crazy over the star of that movie because it was like some boy band guy, from like I think it was Korea. Like I don't know why I'm thinking Japan, but because it's a ninja, but I think he was actually from like Korea, right? Why is the IMDb page not coming up? Okay, there we go. Rain. Yeah, okay, he's Korean. I was right. Okay. But yeah. Hey, another cozy day. Welcome to the channel supporters. How are you doing, cozy day? Welcome back to the channel supporters. Glad to see you here. Anyway, overall, still awesome news that we're getting a Shinobi movie. I went on a tangent there talking about as I normally do. Yeah, pre-Gangnam Style. But it was pretty freaking awesome news to get there. Obviously, there's not much to talk about here. It's so early, like it was just announced now, but I do think it's a very interesting property for them to be diving into. And it's also a property that really other video game companies haven't tried yet. Like a lot of video game companies are trying to go with the big mascots. It's really funny to see like a Shinobi come back. I just really wonder what type of approach they're going to be taking. And we have Rodrigo with a super chat for CLP 490. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, once again, I'm so mixed up. I know it's not the first time, but I always forget what that currency is. Is that what the currency is called? But thank you so much, my friend. It's not the amount; it's the thought that matters. And thank you so much. Very appreciated, my friend. Okay, so we are done with the little stuff. Now it's time to talk about our big story before we get into the new Switch games. And like I said, this one is like I'm very torn with this one. Oh my god, okay, we've got some more coming in. Give me a sec here. Another Cozy Day has gifted 5 channel supporter memberships. Thank you so much, Cozy. So appreciated. That is really amazing. So we have 5 new members coming up. Carrion Crow, you are now temporarily a member for this month. Carl, Take Time 0626, John Galt, Chimichangler, welcome to the Maple Syrup family. I'm going to try to get your names in the end screen over the next couple of videos. There's 1 or 2 that I'm already working on that I might not have time to edit it in, but they will definitely be there by next week. Thank you so much. It is so appreciated. Okay. As I said, now it's time. Let's get into our big story for today. As you can see, I'm a TMNT fan, so, you know, even though I'm ranting, I can't hide the fact that I was very, very happy to have a new DLC come out. So my disappointment was nonetheless mixed in with happiness. Oh my god, more. Frenchie Mom gifted 5 memberships as well. Thank you guys so much. It is so appreciated. Thank you, everyone. Rodrigo, welcome to the channel family. Needless Dragon, Jamo, Gary Oak, Earthling, thank you so much. Oh my god, man. I don't know what to say. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Okay. So we're going to read through the 3 events because, like, there's multiple events. We're not going to go back on the Pal World lawsuit, but the Pal World lawsuit was definitely, I think, the start of all this. Like, Nintendo sued and done a lot of people to, done this a lot in the past, but the last couple of weeks has been actually pretty freaking insane. the notifications keep going off, and I'm just making sure they're we should be getting pretty close there. Um, let's just wait till they draw. I think we've got one more left. No, that was the last. Was that the last one? Yeah, that was the last one. Okay. But thank you so much, guys. It is so appreciated. Okay. So Nintendo has, but to be honest, this is an update to an existing lawsuit. Oh my God, and now Rodrigo has become a member, or was I late on that one? Okay, no, I'm just sorry. My notification thing is all messed up. My bad, guys. Okay. Yes. So Nintendo has been very active in the lawsuit department and legal action department. Now, this first story, like I was going to say, to be honest, is actually an update because theoretically, they were supposed to have an agreement with a mod store, like a Nintendo Switch modification store. And however, apparently, the modification store did not hold up their end of the agreement they had with Nintendo. So Nintendo has now officially sued them. It was sort of like they received somewhat of a cease and desist. And then apparently, as agreed with Nintendo, they were supposed to cease all the sales activities for certain modifications on their website. They continue to sell those things on the website. So now Nintendo decided to take action. However, this one has a somewhat of a weird ending to it. And we'll get into that. We'll read through the story. So, as I said, it's an update because it's back in July. Actually, Nintendo filed a lawsuit against modded hardware. It's an online store which, as you expect, sells modded Switch consoles. And basically, they were selling, however, Switch consoles that allowed you to circumvent the piracy protection, and they were also selling the MIG Switch, the little Switch cartridge that allows you to play Switch games off of an off of a micro SD card, like copied Switch games off of a micro SD card. And apparently, originally, that's it. They had reached an agreement in March that the website would stop selling modded consoles and MIG switches, which the agreement was not upheld by the website. So Nintendo, in July, submitted a claim to the Seattle Federal Court and accused the owner or what alleged owner of the website, because apparently he's even saying that he's maybe not the owner of the website. It's really weird, and that's what we're going to get into for this one. Daly is accused of 6 different charges. Now, however, what is super interesting is rather than just as usual give in to Nintendo and come to some kind of other agreement or whatnot, he has decided to fight Nintendo himself in court. But apparently he's not even being represented by a lawyer, and he is going to be representing himself. And he's actually met each one of the different accusations with claims of denied or that there was insufficient information to admit or deny the allegations. So on that basis, he denies them. And he actually submitted 17 different affirmations for defense, which, if any one of the 17 are upheld, actually gets the law case thrown out. So I think he's trying to one-up Nintendo here, which is actually a little weird. And I'm really interested to see how this is going to shake out. Because apparently, like I said, it's driving me a little nuts that this guy's doing this without a lawyer, just because some of the defenses that he's going to need to prove probably have a fair amount of, like, you're going to have to put a basis. It's one thing to affirm the 17 different defenses. It's going to be another one to prove those 17 defenses. But basically, for example, he's using fair use, invalid copyright, failure to state a relief granting claim, and more. Now, what I'm wondering is if he is testing Nintendo to see how much energy they're going to put into this. Because yes, they have lawyers on retainer. Yes, they don't mind fighting these cases. But for the lawyers to fight this, they actually have to answer all 17 defenses. A lawyer would want to settle. I do agree, but I also agree that Nintendo has a history of trying to strangle people. You know, they sort of fight them in court till the people have no more money, and that even a victory becomes a loss. So what's really funny is this guy, since he's defending himself, other than his own time investment in his defense, he has no costs to this. While on the other hand, even if Nintendo does have lawyers on retainer and all that, there is nonetheless, if the lawyers are working on this case, they can't be working on another case, or they're going to have to work on it at the same time. What that does mean is that nonetheless, I think he's trying to play their own game, where he's like, you know what? Yeah, but I'm not sure how much court fees they're like. Most of the court fees, to my knowledge, come from like the lawyer fees. Like there actually isn't that much that you have to pay directly to the court. Normally, all the fees are paid by the person submitting the lawsuit. They can ask you to reimburse them for fees in their lawsuit, but to my knowledge, the like and I'm going off of Canadian stuff, okay? Because I don't. So please, if I'm wrong in the US, please correct me in the comments down below. I'm going off of Canadian stuff. But normally, when you want to sue someone, the costs are paid by the person suing the other person, and you can ask for reimbursement of the court fees in your lawsuit. But so I'm not sure that this guy's going to have to pay anything unless they actually win the case. And at the second time of that, when are they actually going to win this case? Because, like I said, 17 different defenses, and how long? I don't know what the delay looks like for court in where they said Seattle, right? Because I know here that if you're going through, like, once again, I'm compared to Canadian stuff, but if you're suing in Superior Court here, it's like a 2 to 3 year waiting list. But I just find it super interesting. But first of all, this is the first story. Now, I do have an overlapping point here. I just want to go over the 3 stories first. So first, we have Nintendo suing a hardware modification company, which honestly, I'm feeling really, really, really weird about, because unless they're including the, and we're getting back to the thing that once you sell the console, people can do whatever they want with their consoles. Okay. And that to me it remains one thing that I believe in very, very heavily. I hate companies that sell a console and then say you're not allowed to modify it. Okay. The only illegal part is the actual distribution of ROMs. And unless they can prove that this guy distributed ROMs, I am totally against the fact that Nintendo can sue him with simply modding consoles. Obviously, they're going to sue him on the basis that there's no other use for the modifications than to circumvent their copyright, but which is the basis of most of these lawsuits. It's that the devices that the people are selling have no other functions than to circumvent copyright. Yeah, I don't get me with Apple. I've already said it. I don't buy Apple anymore because of that. But this is really, really... So this is the first part that Nintendo's been annoyed. Like, I have no problem with them going against, like, websites distributing pirated games, because I do think that that's where the mod scene gets... I can no longer support what they're doing when you're making a website distributing ROMs of games. And I'm not talking about whether anyone does it personally. It's just I can see how a company has a basis to sue a website distributing illegal copies of their games, that a company can just not knowingly allow that to exist without enforcing their IPs. Okay? They can't. They could, but what I mean is, like, I can't legally say, oh, just let them be, because it is pushing it beyond that extreme. Where I like, if people are doing it peer to peer, okay, that's another story. But where someone is publicizing a website where you can get the where you have automatic access to these different ripped games or whatnot, I get that. But going after a modding company that mods the Switches, because there are uses for modding the Switches outside of copyright infringement, like putting on your own backdrop on your Switch, which Nintendo doesn't allow us to do. It could simply be to be able to browse the website on, like, the normal web on your Switch, which Nintendo does not allow us to do. And these things do not infringe whatsoever on Nintendo's copyright. So that's where I really have a problem with this, because you need to go after the people distributing the ROMs, not modding the Switches, because one of the consequences of modding is that your Switch can then play copied games, because it is not the only thing. Yes, but the fact that they write it in the rules when you buy a Switch does not mean that that rule is enforceable by law. To me, that's where the difference is that you can write that rule, but that doesn't mean that the rule is actually enforceable by law. It is like when you go skydiving and the companies has you sign a waiver that you can't sue them under any circumstances. I'm very sorry, but if they give you a faulty parachute, or if the person that folded your parachute did it incorrectly and that's why you get injured or die, your family has every right to sue them. And the fact that you signed the waiver means absolutely nothing. Because saying something like a ridiculous rule like that does not make it automatically enforceable. Exactly. And to tell someone, hey, you can buy my product, but after that you can't change my product. Either way, like, the existence of emulators have already been defended in court. And that's basically pretty much where the gray zone is. The emulator itself is not illegal. The distribution of the illegal ROMs is. If you're using your own ROMs that you obtained yourself from licensed material, there's not much that the companies can do. But this is the first story. And like I said, there's an overarching thing here. This is the first part I want to go over. So this is the first really funny one. I wanted to start with this one because I found it funny that the guy's actually fighting back by himself. There's not much more to say here, though, because we still don't know how this is going to shake out. So this could shake out in his favor. This could shake out in Nintendo's favor. Secondly, one of my favorite YouTubers.
So this has been a pretty busy
and we're going to
week
mute his stuff. Hopefully he's not going to get angry that I'm, like, using his video as a backdrop. But RGT85 covered this. Everyone covered this, however. And this is the one where, once again, I think Nintendo is being facetious here and being really dumb. They're attacking YouTubers that are playing emulated games or that are showing people how to use emulators. Like, I don't agree with by the way, I don't agree with everything RGT says all the time, but I do find he's a very interesting YouTuber to watch. And even when he's saying stuff that I disagree with, he still does a good job of presenting his arguments in funny and interesting ways where it becomes entertaining nonetheless, which is why I enjoy watching him on YouTube. And I think most people that enjoy YouTube are for the same reasons. So basically, but what he's covering in his video here is he's covering the fact that multiple companies, multiple YouTube channels have been hit with a lot of copyright claims over the last week for playing games on emulators. Now, what's really sad here is Nintendo, I think, has a lot to thank their success on the Switch to content creators and YouTubers specifically. Now, do I think the Switch would have been successful even without all of this? Yes, I do. But I don't think it would have been as successful. And we're going to talk at the end because there's a very important thing, and a lot of people forget Nintendo's history on that. And that's why I said that I think they're entering their villain arc. And Topaz has to stop now, please. Because she's throwing my things on the ground again, and she threw my camera on the ground again. I was scared that she broke it last week, and now she just threw it on the ground again. Yeah, hello, Topaz. But basically, what I really, really hate here is that when you are playing these emulated games, most of these channels have review copies of the game, or they also buy legit copies of the games. Or they basically do this as more of an entertainment purpose than anything. And what I hate is that if Nintendo cannot prove that the games they're using are illegal ROM copies and not copies that they themselves obtained, once again, I don't think that they're doing this in the right way, and they're attacking the wrong people. The whole point, like I said with Nintendo, is that the more people talk about Nintendo online in a good way, the more their sales are going to be positive. And unless they can prove that these channels are actually hurting their deadline, their bottom line in a serious way, striking these channels are just dumb because it's giving them extremely bad publicity. And at the same time, like, most of these websites don't only play don't only play emulated games. And as a content creator, do you really want to keep supporting a company that's attacking you for something that, like I said, you're not telling people to go and copy games right out. You're more doing comparison videos. Often it's performance videos for these different emulators and whatnot. But to me, it's just, once again, going back to the age where Nintendo said that you were not allowed to show their games in any light without their express consent. Okay? And that's what I'm going to go to my overarching storyline, is that overall, Nintendo at one point in time, you couldn't even show a Nintendo game on YouTube because they would automatically copyright claim you. And that's because at that point, Nintendo started feeling, I'm sorry for the expression, but too big for their britches. They basically thought they were untouchable in the Wii generation, and they had to get humbled during the Wii U generation. And a lot of that was around creators also not being able to share any content on the games. And I actually think that if at that period in time they were not so retarded, old school with their thought process on their content, the Wii U would not have failed as hard as it did. But most content creators had trouble making content around the games. So even the fact that people didn't understand that the Wii U was a different console than the Wii was due to the fact that a lot of people couldn't get content out there to explain to people that it was a different console. And and we forget how many people nowadays get a lot of their information from YouTube. So the fact that content creators couldn't make proper videos explaining to people why it would be cool to have a Wii U and what cool games are coming out meant that there was no hype around their stuff. I'm very sorry, but if it wasn't for YouTube videos hyping the game, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom would have never became amazing sellers and almost rebooted Nintendo's whole Zelda franchise. Like, that's how much Nintendo doesn't realize that the hype around it is so crazy. And if you imagine, if they go back to the days where they start blocking that, I'm going to tell you right away, they're going to kill themselves again. And I'm worried that Nintendo, with all of this, is getting so comfortable in being... Because, look, I'm going to say it right now. They are the best-selling platform currently available. And monetarily, they are killing Sony and Xbox when we're talking about their solely game divisions. Okay, whether people think that the PlayStation 5 is way more powerful and all that, yeah, sure it is. But if we're talking about software sales, if we're talking about unit sales, if we're talking about cash flow and profits, Nintendo is killing Xbox and Sony right now in their gaming divisions. And they don't realize how this could change on a dime if any of this... if they push this too far. Just like they want to shut down Smash Brothers tournaments, just like they want to do all this kind of stuff. If you are not doing like, the only reason where I can see that Nintendo would be allowed to shut down Smash Brothers tournaments, and I'm sorry I'm switching gears here because it's the same idea here, because even though I personally am not a competitive Smash Brothers player, if Nintendo had a professional Smash Brothers league that you were trying to compete against, I could in some form see the logical argument for them shutting down Smash Brothers tournaments. But if Nintendo themselves are not offering a competitive Smash Brothers league, there is no freaking sense that they should be able to shut down Smash Brothers tournaments. Oh, thank you that you enjoyed the last deals video. Sorry, I just read Wild's comment because I tried to follow through the chat. But yeah, so we're going to get off the emulation stuff right now, and we're going to look at the last bit of information here. And like I said, go drop RGT a like on his video. The link will be in the description down below. I use it as a backdrop, but he does a really good job of going through all of this as well in this video. So, like I said, drop him a like. Very appreciated. The last one here is Nintendo shutting down Ryujinx. Now, this is the one that I seem to be the most okay with. Okay? And that's fine, man. That you heard was garbage. No problem, my man. Like, honestly, he's an acquired taste. You either like him or you hate him, and that's fine. I like him for like I said, he yells too much, and I get that. I'm like the complete opposite. You know, I think I sometimes am not energetic enough, but I like better when I get angry. I get like this. I talk points. Like, my point is to shut you down, not to talk over you. I'm going to shut you down with arguments, not by yelling or talking over you, because yelling and talking over you actually never gets to anything in my mind. I'm the same way at work. I'm the same way everywhere. But this is the one I can get the most behind because Ryu Jinx was actually developed, if I'm not mistaken, in Brazil. And in Brazil, there's actually not much Nintendo can legally do against someone developing a. And you could, once again, if anyone is, say, this is from what I read and information wise, is that in Brazil, there's actually not much you can do legally to shut down someone who would be working on an emulator, simply because the laws over there don't support that. Like, it's once again an area where you're automatically, you would lose in court sort of over there. So there's not much you can do. So, but apparently Nintendo has reached out to the developer of Yuzu, and they've negotiated to have the emulator actually shut down. Now, I'm not going to lie. I do think that they paid them. I think Nintendo actually paid this guy to shut down Yuzu. Because I don't think there was much they could do pressure-wise. So I do think they probably showed up to his house with a offer that he just couldn't refuse. And or he couldn't refuse in a legit way. And if that's the case, this is the one time that I'm like, you know what? If Nintendo wants to buy someone to shut down a emulator, I'm okay with that. By the way, we're never going to know if that's the case. Because if Nintendo paid him to shut this down, it is guaranteed he signed an NDA, and it is guaranteed that the money he's getting is tied to the NDA, and that if he breaks it, then he can actually most likely get sued for breaking the NDA. You understand? Because even if you come to an agreement, and the reason why Nintendo will never allow you to know if this happened is that they don't want the next person to build an emulator to hope to get paid out. Do you understand what I mean? But I am most likely sure that the way this happened, where apparently they actually discussed directly with him, they showed up to his place, they actually they actually pulled up on the dude. Like, they pulled up on the dude apparently where he lives. And like a few days later, he decides to shut down the emulator. I don't know. I heard that you can't sue for that in Brazil. So if there's no money being exchanged, what did they pressure him to do? Like, what did they say they were going to do? Like, I don't believe that Nintendo has like thugs that they would actually come and like break your legs or something. So like, whether you believe it or not, I just don't think that would happen. And either way, I don't know. I just don't see if they had no legal pressure, what could they do other than buying the person out? You've seen seven. Honestly, often it's a regional wild one because I've seen some here too. I'm not going to say where because I don't want scalpers going out, but I've seen some around Montreal in different places. You can find some. The Nintendo Yakuza. I don't know, man. I don't know. Are they connected enough in Brazil for that? I just really feel that they paid him out. And if that's the case, you know, this is the kind of thing that I have no problem with. Like I said, you have a company, you want to buy a competitor so that the competitor doesn't put his product on the shelves. You come up to him with an offer and the competitor accepts that offer. Good job, guys. You did what you needed to do. Is it fun for people that were using the emulator? No. But at the same time, this you can't blame them for. And if someone was really an offer he can't refuse, I know, I love The Godfather, man. Man, that horse scene. My wife never watched the movie. She didn't understand it. When I said an offer you can't refuse. Like, do you know how annoying it? Like, I don't know if you guys know, like, this has happened to you, but have you ever used that line on someone who doesn't know the movie and doesn't understand what that means? Like, to me, it's one of those things that every time I hear it, oh, I'm going to make you an offer. Like, in my mind, it's right away an offer you can't refuse. Like, you know, and when you actually pop it out and the person's like, they look at you with like a blank stare and you're like, like The Godfather, and they're like, "Oh, I haven't seen the movie." Like, honestly, love my wife to death, but I felt like slapping her that time when she told me that. I was like, "What?" And on top of it, she's half Italian. She's half Italian, and she hasn't seen The Godfather. So I was like, "What are you doing?" Anyway, it's like someone who hasn't seen Rocky and doesn't understand Adrian. I watched it like 2 weeks ago just for that part. You can't handle the truth, dude. Like, it's crazy, eh? Like, that's when you know you're getting old, when a generation is coming up where a lot of people don't get your movie references that everyone used to get. Like, there was no one in like even the 90s that didn't get You Can't Handle the Truth. That's when you know you're getting old. But overall, so now that we've gone through the 3 stories, so Rio Jinx is being shut down. It sucks, but if you didn't know, it is. I don't think many people here are using Rio Jinx either way, because my channel, we don't really do modded stuff. I just prefer focusing on the deals, and Topaz is being a super, super annoying tonight. I love her, but she's being super annoying because she's jumping like, she's not walking, she's like jumping like right up in front of my screen. But clever girl. Not yet. But basically, I'm really scared that Nintendo's going to go full villain arc on us. And that they're going to start deciding what games people can do content about and what games people can't do content about. And I don't know where this is coming from. I don't know if it's coming from the fact that they feel, once again, that they have the monopoly, like when they had the Wii, and then they went to the Wii U and all that stuff. And that now they feel like, okay, we can decide everything that comes out about us. But if that's the case, I'm sorry to say, I'm pretty sure they're going to get a really big wake-up call. I think they're going to get a really, really big wake-up call. And I really hope that this is the end of it, because the more these stories come out, the more it gives me a bad taste about Nintendo in my mouth. Because don't forget that I think Nintendo has one of the biggest communities where people enjoy the feeling of the Nintendo community and playing games that other systems aren't playing, and that we have the console with the games that have like the gameplay before the graphics and all that. And all of this is just giving us like a feeling that they're just in it for the money, which they are. Look, I'm a, I have a business background. They're in it for the money. Every choice they make is for the money. But I do think they do a good job of going for the money, but keeping like a feeling that that they're delivering games for the gamers that the gamers love. And the more these cases come out, the more it feels like they're anti-gamer. You know what I mean? They're anti-community and they're anti-gamer because they're hurting the community that helped prop them up to where they are now. Either way, maybe it's just a false flag and we're everything's going to go back to normal, and it's just a coincidence that all these legal battles are lining up back to back to back. But I just find it's not a good look for them. It's not a good look, and they need to really they need to just be quiet for a while. Yeah, I know. I'm watching all the Dumb and Dumber, Clever Girl. We're not in Kansas anymore. My God, what? Anyway, I'm like trying to are you not entertained? That is one of my favorite ones. That's another one that I usually I use all the time. Like when with my family and something, when this is boring, and I'm like, are you not entertained? And Gladiator is an amazing movie. Did you know they're making a Gladiator 2? That sounds like the most out of left field dumb idea I've ever heard. Like, I loved Gladiator, but making a sequel to Gladiator feels so wrong. And the worst is, apparently, it's supposed to be Pedro Pascal. I heard it's Pedro Pascal. Hold on. I saw a movie poster when I was at the theater the other time. Yeah, no, it's an actual thing. But I think Pedro, I don't think he's the gladiator. A royale with cheese. Oh, man. I can't do the whole scene, but Samuel L. Jackson in that movie is so amazing. Well, Samuel L. Jackson's always good, but yeah, I'm looking at the cast and it's like Pedro Pascal, Denzel Washington's in it. Whoa, man. Okay, look, I'm not into the idea because I do think if they're not extremely careful, they're gonna ruin like the legacy of the first film. But the cast is pretty freaking stacked. It's pretty insane. Pedro Pascal, Denzel Washington, Joseph Quinn, Connie Nielsen, the from the first one. Is this the same guy that plays Lucius? Yeah, I don't know if it's the same guy. Oh, yeah, it is the same kid that played Lucius in the first one. Dang, okay. Lucius was a little kid, was her kid in the first one. Anyway, either way, I still don't think it's a good idea, but yeah, they're coming out with a Gladiator 2. Do we have a release date on this? Oh, man, it's coming out next month. Dude, it's coming out next month. How the heck did we not hear about this at all? Like, I saw a random poster when I went to see a movie the other time. It was a bad movie that I went to see on top of it. I made my wife happy and I went to see the freaking movie with Blake, the movie where she gets like about spousal abuse there, where she has a flower shop. Blake Lively. Blake Lively, what is it? What's her latest movie? It Ends With Us. I went to see It Ends With Us. They've been promoting Gladiator for months. Dude, I haven't seen it anywhere. I haven't seen one commercial. I haven't seen anything about it. That is crazy. How have I seen nothing about it? That's pretty insane. How the heck did Deadpool and Wolverine only get a 7.8? That is insane. That is insane. Deadpool Wolverine is like a 9 out of 10 movie at least. But well, it's not really a romantic comedy. What would I rate it? It Ends With Us. Oh yeah, Deadpool Wolverine to me is like a 9. Like, well, honestly, no. If I go with my total like geek brain, it's almost a 10. But if I try to be like, if I pull back a little bit and I try to be like objective about it, it's like a 9. It's like a 9 to me. But like when I was in the theater, it was a 10. It was like a 10. Like I was in the theater and I was like freaking out. Like when freaking Johnny Storm said "Flame On," like because everyone's expecting like, you know, Avengers assemble, and he's like "Flame On," and everyone's just like, I pure had a moment of like my brain just like not working anymore and being like, what? And like oh my god, it was insane. And it's just they captured the feeling of a team up comic book. Like, I don't know how many of you actually read comic books, but I have like thousands of comic books. Okay, like one day I'll get pictures at my mom's place of like my like boxes of comic books that she still has. But I read comic books, and team up comic books were always about crazy shit. Like, comic books to begin with are generally crazy, but the team up comic books were never about telling a serious story or a big storyline or incredible like an incredible plot twist. They were always about the pure unadulterated fun of seeing two of your favorite heroes, or even hero and villain, teaming up when you would never see these guys teaming up. That was the whole idea of like the team up comic books. And after that, obviously the team books like there were team, like, as opposed to team books like Avengers, like Heroes for Hire, where these were ongoing storylines and they were building storylines. The sort of one-off miniseries team-ups were always about a crazy, over-the-top storyline. And the Wolverine Deadpool comics were exactly like the movie. Like, Deadpool was always annoying the shit out of whoever he was teamed up with. And basically, they always ended up wanting to kill him. But in the end, like, they sort of got to get shit done. But either way, they captured the vibe of that in a movie, which is actually insane that they managed to keep it going for like 2 hours too. Because if you think about it, keeping that vibe going for like a 30-minute like episode or something like that is one thing, but keeping it going for 2 hours was amazing. Oh, and dude, when Wesley Snipes came on screen, like, my wife actually had to tell me to shut up because I didn't stop like, oh my god, it's Wesley Snipes, it's Wesley Snipes, like, and she didn't know who it was, so she's like, and I'm like, and she like tells me to shut up, and I'm like, dude, you don't know, it's Blade. And she was like, dude, she's like, if you don't shut up, I'm like leaving, because like I was embarrassing her, because I was like the only dude like making a lot of noise. Because, by the way, movie theaters in the US and Canada are way different. Way different. Like, when you go to a movie in the US like that, like, people will actually like have lively reactions and stuff. But in Canada, everyone shuts the hell up and doesn't say a word. Okay, so movie theaters in Canada and the US are like very different. I've been often to movie theaters in the US, and it is like insane how I was like, oh my god, people are like me here. Like, obviously you want to be able to watch the movie, but like during good scenes, people accept that people get like very lively and like make, like, oh my god, and stuff like that. But yeah, in Canada, people like don't talk, and like if you start making noise like that, like the only movies where I've seen that was acceptable was like the Star Wars movies, but you have to be there on premiere night. Like, if you're watching Star Wars like 3 weeks after it came out, you're not allowed to make noise in the theater anymore, even during the good parts. But if you're there on premiere night, then people like, like, you can make noise. You can be like, holy crap. Like, I watched the re-release of the original Star Wars when they re-released them in the 90s, like the remastered versions. And that's what it was like. Like, people were clapping when the Death Star gets blown up and shit like that. And Avengers. Like, honestly, when we went to see Avengers and Cap actually said Avengers Assemble, and the when the portal scene happened, because I was there, like I was watching it on release night, like it was so funny because I told my wife, I'm like, I don't care if one of the kids are sick. I don't care if someone's in the hospital. We are there on release night for Endgame. Like, there is nothing that can happen on this planet that will prevent me from being there for the opening night of Endgame. And she was like, dude, if something happens, we're not going to be there. She's like, you don't understand. I'm buying the tickets like 2 weeks ahead of time. Like, we are there that night. Like, we are going to eat food. Like, we're going to eat supper at the restaurant across the street from the theater to make sure that like the car can't break down or there can't be a problem or something like that. That we're already next to the theater before that, so that in case something happens, I have time to walk to the theater because I am there for opening night. But yeah. Anyway, that was my movie rant, and IMDb is playing in the background, and hopefully that doesn't get copyrighted. I forgot that they're super insane about movie trailers. But either way, let's get back to our regular scheduled programming, because I don't think we're here to talk about movies. Let's close IMDb. Let's talk about the upcoming Switch games, because we're pretty much done. Nintendo's villain arc is getting set up. I hope it stops here. I hope they don't go full villain and start being stupid with their content, but that is it. And yes, we are going to be looking at that game, Nanaki. So, okay, let's get this stuff out of the way. Let me get my list of games here, which is all of a sudden being problematic. Okay. So our first one. So, as usual, we are coming into the section of new Switch games coming out this week. Just a quick reminders, as usual, we are going in chronological order. So we're going from the games releasing the soonest to the games releasing on Sunday. As usual, I will be presenting games that I think have a high potential to be good games for the week. However, if something new, I will also be presenting one game that I think you should stay away from, or at least stay away from till we actually get real reviews out, because it is a very high risk that the game will have major problems. Also, if ever a trailer gets muted, if you're watching this after the stream is released, it is simply because there was copyright issues with the trailer. So if the trailer is muted, don't check your sound, don't check anything like that. It is simply a fact that the trailer was copyrighted. Okay, so we are starting with our first game releasing tomorrow, October 9th. And it'll be selling for $24.99. It is Sky Ocean's Wings for Hire. Now, this one I'm a little bit on the fence about because the developer has been hit or miss in the past. But if it runs well on the Switch, it could be potential for a pretty decent RPG. If we read quickly the little blurb down here, Sky Ocean's Wing for Hire is an homage to JRPG classics. Set in the open skies, experience an adrenaline-filled turn-based dogfights as you take the role of captain and unite a party of ragtag sky pirates. My God, can I speak tonight? Setting upon an unforgettable, touching journey. So let's watch the trailer. It's a pretty short one, and I'll give my take on what we see. So I do find this a very interesting concept to have an RPG, but based around dogfighting in planes. So I'm really interested to see how it works out. Are you going to have like a squadron controlling multiple planes at once? It's not 100% clear if it's turn-based. I don't think so, because I do think it seems to be more action-based. But I am super interested to see how this game's going to turn out. Now, my fear here is the performance on Switch, because it's releasing on multiple consoles. I am worried that maybe on Switch the performance won't be up to par, yet at the same time, a lot of the graphics sort of seem like they've been produced with the Switch in mind. Like they're cartoony graphics. You can see that the edges are sort of voluntarily, I think, blurry. but blurry in a way so that the generation of the graphics it doesn't hurt you too much if the resolution lowers temporarily. But yeah, Sky of Arcadia vibes, sort of. Um, I do think this game has potential. 24.99, however, does place it on the expensive side of an indie game. So I do think this is one, maybe wait for a review or two first, but I do think it has a ton of potential. We'll figure that out pretty quick because it's coming out tomorrow. Okay. I don't think I'll be playing this one because RPG means a lot of time. Right now, I don't think I can fit that in the schedule, especially that I would like to finish Echoes and get at least one or two more reviews out. I'm behind on a few games and I would like to get those out as soon as possible. Now, let's move on to our next game for today. Our next game is going to be Camp Sunshine. So the one that Nanaki had mentioned, Camp Sunshine, that is also coming out on October 9th. Now this game is only going to be $6.99. So a very budget release. And it's actually a game related to a game that we played last year on stream. Now, it's one of these horror game releases that always come out around Halloween, which is a 16-bit RPG style. So let's just read once again the blurb really quick. Camp Sunshine is a 16-bit love letter to retro horror movies created by Fossil Games. It's coming to PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, and Xbox on October 9th. Now, we played Sunshine Manor last year on stream. It was actually a pretty fun puzzle adventure game. This one has the same sort of vibes. However, this one is supposed to be more of an RPG. So we're going to take a look at the trailer and see what we think afterwards.
Jez is a normal teenager looking forward to summer camp. The kind of camp millions of teenagers attend every year, ready to meet new friends, relax, and have fun. But tonight, the camp will be turned into a bloodbath by a deranged psychopath who is hunting you down. You'd better watch your back, as there's somebody or something who would kill to meet you. You can run, you can hide, but there's a bear in the woods, watching, waiting, and sharpening his knife. From the twisted minds of two 80s horror movie fans, the classic pixelated slasher horror is coming to a new home on a console near you. Solve mind-bendingly devious puzzles, meet the camp residents, find food in the trash, and eat it? Watch the body count continue to rise and discover the mystery hidden within Camp Sunshine. Will you make it through the night, or will the Sunshine Bear find you? Coming to Nintendo Switch, Xbox, and PlayStation.
Honestly, I sort of have high hopes for this one. It feels bad, but it feels good bad. And obviously, I'm getting a lot of like Friday the 13th vibes from all of it. Like, you know, you're in a camp, homicidal killers chasing after you. The one thing that I sort of am worried about is like you don't get a good idea of what the gameplay is other than the puzzles. Because like you see him hiding. So it feels like it's going to be a lot of stealth like gameplay. I'm wondering where the RPG comes in. You know what I mean? Like, where is this RPG part coming in here? But it does look like it could be fun. Look, last year, Sunshine Manor wasn't the greatest game, but as a budget, fun Halloween-themed game, it can be a lot of fun. And I know a lot of people that like to pick up, like, cheap horror games around Halloween and just have, like, dumb fun with friends. To me, this feels like one of those games that could fit the bill there. Camp Sunshine, but the vibe is far from sunshine. Exactly. You take the words right out of my mouth. But yeah, it is a very, very, I think, high potential. And the sales price of $6.99 means that it's like, we don't really have to worry even if the game is sort of not amazing, because expectations are a little bit lower there. So that one we are going to go take a look at for next week. Honestly, I'm hoping I might have time to try it out. This is one, although it says RPG, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a short one. So I do think we could have time. Okay, next. Once again, a game that I think has potential, but depending on how it runs on the Switch, depending on how the gameplay turns out, it'll be a big question mark. And that is a UFO robot Grendizer, The Feast of Wolves, that is releasing this one on October 10th. And it's actually, there are two versions of the game. The base version is $39.99. And if not, we have a deluxe version at $49.99. Now, I'm getting like crab fight vibes from this, but with giant monsters. So let's watch this one. And once again, I'll give you my thoughts right away after.
Hang on, Grendizer. I won't let them, Father. Dizer punch! Double Harken! Hand beam! Let's get out of here. Your time has come, cursed machine. Space Thunder! Spazer Cross! Spin drills! Earth's not through yet, my friend. So, getting tired, Saucer Beast? Let's finish this. Hand beam! Screw punch! Anti-gravity storm!
Okay, so we have Grendizer, UFO robot Grendizer. Now, this is based on a anime series from the 80s. Okay, I'm pretty sure it's 80s, if not late 70s, but I'm feeling this one was more the 80s. But basically, oh, by the way, I wrote the name of The Legend of Santa in the up top because I saw your question, Rodrigo, and I didn't want to answer over the trailer, so I wrote it up in the chat. But I guess that's why you're saying gracias. Okay, so basically, here are my thoughts on this. I love the vibe of the game. Okay, I love the vibe of the game. I love battling kaijus in a giant monster. If the gameplay is good, and it does seem like the gameplay is pretty varied. It's like an arena-based fighter type game mixed in with shoot 'em up levels. Two gameplay styles that I like a lot. So there's that. However, I am very worried about it playing properly on the Nintendo Switch. Yeah, I think it's called Mazinger Z, right? Because Grendizer are those two separate franchises? I'm not sure, but like to me, Grendizer, I recognize the name because often here in Quebec we have more the French names have more like the French the French names from France, and the company where I am worried is the company that is publishing this game is Microids. Now, Microids, once again, are hit and miss. And when it's miss because often the performance on the Switch. They are like the better version of Outright games. Okay? And better by far. Like, generally, their games are better, but they often end up with performance issues on the Switch, because they are primarily games that are made for the other consoles, and then they try to get it to run on the Switch. Okay? But honestly, so this one is one of those games I would wait for a review, especially that it's pricey. At $39.99, it is very pricey. I'm not sure a lot of people are going to drop cash on this right now because it's like a bad time of the year with so many bigger releases coming very soon. But if you're a fan of the series from the 80s, I do think it's going to have a high potential if the game runs well on the Switch. But that's my 2 cents about this one. Either you know the series or you're into kaiju battles. If you are, you're going to have interest here. If you're not, you're not. It's been out over a year on other consoles. So that honestly gets me even more worried, because if it took them a year to port the game, it worries me more, okay? Just to let you know, because unfortunately, a couple of other games that I've played of theirs have had this same issue. Like even the Smurfs game, the issue on the Switch was the performance. The game was pretty decent, but the V-Leaf, Smurf V-Leaf, like it was in the last eShop deals video in that pack, not the last one, but the one right before it, which is for $3 is super worth it. But if you were paying it full price, you were disappointed because the game had some trouble with the performance. Okay, so we have this coming out. Keep an eye on it if you're into the series. I think it has potential. Now, also coming out on the 10th. Now, this is going to be, once again, another like questionable one for this week. I'm really interested in seeing how the gameplay is gonna play out. But we have Bloodless coming out on the 10th. Now, this one is going to be $14.99. And do we have a blurb here? Let me just see. A peaceful Ronin haunted by her past strives for peace in a violent world. Inspired by the Edo Shogunate, Japan, Bloodless is a 2D action-adventure game coming to Nintendo Switch on October 10th. But there's a very original premise here, is that the main hero refuses to kill anyone. So it is non-lethal combat only. Other people are trying to kill her, but we cannot kill them. So I'm really interested in seeing on how this is going to play out. And I really like the art style, but I do have questions. Yeah, a sort of Rurouni Kenshin, exactly. Rurouni Kenshin with the reverse katana, but she doesn't use reverse katana. It's that she uses like immobilizations and things like that. But we're gonna look at the trailer. It's a retro style game. I like the visual style, but let's check it out. Yeah, I'll do that swirl right after. Give me a sec. So I find it looks very interesting, but I do have a lot of questions. I'm wondering how the gameplay is going to play out. It looks good, but it's all going to depend on the gameplay. Now, it is supposed to be a counter-based combat system, so it feels like, I want to say slightly Souls-like in its basis, but it's supposed to be counter-based. So like I said, I am super interested to see how this one's going to play out. I think it has a lot of potential. It's coming from Saber, which generally has some pretty decent games. Not all of them, but a lot of them are pretty freaking decent. Let me see. Where do I get this server invite link? Give me a sec. No, that's not what I want. Give me a sec, guys. I'm terrible with this stuff. Especially when I'm like on... What the heck? The one on the channel isn't working, I assume? Because on the channel, on my info page, there is one link. I'll grab that one. If it's not working, give me a sec. I'll find another one. But... try that one. I'm not sure if it's working. I'll have to, if not, I'll have to generate another general invite one. And I'm like, I can't remember how I get the general invite one. Oh, invites here. Okay, hold on. Here's a fresh one. If that one doesn't work, here's a fresh invite. Try the second one. Forget the first one. The second one should work. Okay, so Bloodless coming to October 10th. So yeah, sorry, getting back to the game quickly. Sorry for that little sidetrack there. But yeah, so I do think it has a ton of potential. Looking forward to trying it out possibly. Not sure I'm going to do it right away on release. I was wondering what you were talking about, Rodrigo, but now I get it. Okay. I was like, what the heck? But, okay. So Bloodless coming out on October 10th. I think it has a ton of potential. We will see. Hopefully, I'll be able to play it. I don't think I'll be able to play it on release because, like I said, already jam-packed. But seems to be a game with a ton of potential. Next, we have a game that I think is going to be probably one of the top releases this week on the 11th. And that is going to be Europa. Now, this game actually has a demo available, so you can already play the demo. I actually covered the demo, so I have a video where I play through the demo on stream. Or I covered the demo. It's one or the other, but there is a video on the channel about my review of the demo. No, it's a demo review. So I did a review of the demo. It is coming out on October 11th, and it is selling for $14.99. However, it will be on sale for $13.49 up until release. No, I got you. The first one alone, I didn't. But as soon as you wrote the second one, at first I was like, oh, what the crap? What did I say, man? And then I got it. So let's take a quick look at the trailer for Europa. I do think this is going to be one of the top releases this week. The game did have a few performance hiccups when I played the demo the first time, but they've had a ton of time to work on it. So I am crossing my fingers that the final build of the game will run even better. But the hiccups were not game breaking. They just maybe were not up to par where I think the game could have been. It is basically almost like a Zelda adventure game, but focused really on it's a Zelda formula evolved in a different direction.
My son, I must treasure the time we have left. We must submit ourselves to change.
It is the only constant in life. Change is what permits life. It is life itself. The violence we have inflicted on the planet is returning to us tenfold. But at the same time, it is not too late. You are the cure, my son. When we get to the island, we will show everybody the light.
So it's basically an adventure game, but the basis of the storyline there's a lot of mystery to the game, but the basis of the storyline seems to be that you're on a planet that's being terraformed to resemble Earth in its perfect form. And for some reason, something's gone wrong, and you wind up being the only person left on the planet, and you wake up and you sort of have to reinvigorate it, or you have to get things going again. What is amazing about the game is the movement system. It has an amazing movement system that once you get a hang of it, you can actually fly around the map super quickly, very satisfyingly. However, like I said, the only issue on the Switch when I played the demo is there were a few technical hiccups. Like the frame rate wasn't great at some moments. There was some pop-in that was slightly unpleasant. But hopefully they managed to clean it up. The demo's been out for a while. I feel like it was beginning of the year that I played the demo for this, or at least latest like early summer. What I mean is like, yeah, the latest I would have played was like early summer if it was that far back, that early. But very, very spoiler, what's wrong is humans. That could very well be what happened, but it's a beautiful world to explore. I really think it's going to be a visually touching game, and I wouldn't even be surprised that it'll manage to shed a tear by the end. Like I feel the game has that kind of vibe that the game's actually going to get you to shed a tear by the end of the game. The message delivered by his father that you sort of hear the voiceover there is very present in the game, and whatever voice actor it is, I love the voice. I feel he's like delivering it with a message, and you sort of feel the warmth in his voice and the hope in his voice. But at the same time, you're like, something went wrong. So why is he, yeah. It looks like it has a message, but delivered in a smart way. Like it's not one of those games that are trying to force it down your throat. They delivered through the storyline, through the world, and it seems very fun. So Europa, I think, is going to be one of the best releases of the week. As I said, this one is October 11th, $14.99. The price point is very right for the game as well. It feels like the production value is actually above the price point, which is always where you sort of want to be. Okay, next we have RPG Maker Wit. Now, I think this could be very interesting. And this, I'm actually going to ask a question. If anyone knows in the comments down below, let me know. But RPG Maker is just as you would expect it. You get to make your own RPGs. Retro-styled RPGs, but you basically get to make your own, and you can share your RPGs with friends. You can even share them while you're building them. So you can sort of work on the project, I believe, as a group. So you can sort of get a part done, send it to your friend does the next part, send it back, and so forth. It seems to be they're trying to publicize it as very easy to use. Now, I do want to mention this one is coming out on October 11th, but there are a lot of price points because they're selling the base RPG Maker and then they're selling asset packs separately. And there's a lot of different packs, okay? And there's a lot of like bundles that they made. There's at least 4 or 5 different bundles. But the base price is $49.99, and the ultimate pack, like with all the DLC, goes all the way up to $179.99. Okay. Now, the one question that I want to know in the comments down below, if anyone asks, do you know if there's any way to monetize a release with RPG Maker? Like, I don't think you could release it directly from the Switch, but is there a way to export this to like a version that you could actually sell on an eShop or somewhere after? That's what I would like to know, if anyone knows if there is a export feature, because $179.99 for an asset pack for a game that you can only make RPGs that you can share with friends and play yourself, I find is very expensive, unless there's a possibility to export the game and sell it. Even if you're selling it for like $2 on the eShop, if you have that option, I can see that it could be something super fun, but it's most likely going to be relatively limited in its options. If you're thinking to create the greatest RPG of all time, I don't think this is going to be the tool for you. But let's take a look at the trailer nonetheless. Well, I know that I've seen Game Maker games, you're right, before, but I'm not, I just haven't, and I know RPG Maker on the computer, I've seen, yes, that there were ways to export the game. I just don't know if there's going to be a way, if you do it from the Switch, to then export it. You understand what I mean? Like, I'm sure there is a version, most likely on computer, that you can do it, like on PC and whatnot. I'm just not sure you can do it with the Switch version. That is my question. Is there a way to work on it on a Switch and then actually get that version of the game to monetization? Yeah, it's Jordan. And I heard that Jordan's leaving Switch Watch. If I'm not mistaken. I know I saw a video titled "I'm leaving Switch Watch." I didn't have time to watch it, but I saw Jordan is possibly leaving Switch Watch. I don't know if he's doing his own stuff, but I think it's a good move for him personally, because honestly, Jordan's like, no diss to anyone else at Switch Watch, but Jordan had the best content there, and personally, I was ended up only watching Jordan's content, so it felt weird, like being on a channel with other people, but I don't want to watch the other people's content, which happens sometimes when you have a multiple person channel. But it just felt like the content type, quality, and presentation was so different from the others. Yeah, and that's fine. And you see that happens, and that's great. And I'm glad that, probably they're just doing other stuff in their life. It's just like I think it was a good move. It was either Switch Watch had to become Jordan, or Jordan had to do his own thing. And I think maybe for whatever for whatever reason, I think the best move for him was to go on his own. But honestly, I really like his stuff. I often watch when I don't have time to check out the physical deals myself, or physical games. I love watching his stuff quick. He does a great job with it. Okay, so RPG Maker. Now, like I said, various price points. I think your mileage will vary. I think if you want to get a really good game together, you're going to have to put a lot of time into this. My question is, how easy is it going to be to do on the Switch? Like, when you have a mouse and keyboard, it just feels like it's going to be way easier. Is it actually going to be easy to do on the Switch? I would really like to see. I'm not going to be picking up the game unless they give me a review code, because it feels like you on the Switch you're going to need the asset packs, because how are you going to export assets if you're not with the assets packs? Do you see where that, like, I have all these questions where I'm like, that's why I'm asking, can you export the game? Because I'm like, on a computer, you can import assets you want into a game maker from like yourself, but what? Yeah, I know it's been on the Switch before. It's just I don't remember one being pushed or released as big as this one has, but I could be wrong too. Okay, so we have RPG Maker out of the way. Now we have one game left before we get to the game that I think we need to maybe watch out for this week. And by watch out, I mean it could be another SpongeBob situation. Now, this is the last game that I think could have potential, and it is called Casual Sports Series Hockey. Now, I've never played one of the Casual Sports Series, but when I looked at the trailer, I was like, you know what? This could be fun. And we actually don't really have any good hockey games on the Switch. Obviously, this is more of an arcadey style of hockey game. Like, it's not a simulation style of hockey game. But if you're a hockey fan, I feel like this one can have some potential, especially if you're playing with friends just for fun. Tegade with the $1.99 donation, and Nexus Creed gifted a maple syrup membership. Thank you so much, guys, man. You guys are spoiling me tonight. Thank you so much. And RY51, you got the membership, so welcome to the Maple family, my man. Okay, so let's take a look at this Casual Sports Series Hockey, which looks like it looks like a Wii designed hockey, to be honest. I don't like the quality of the trailer, though. It gets better, good. Because I was like worried about the resolution there for a sec. So it looks like a very simply designed hockey game, and I think that is just fine. And the price point, oh, I forgot. The price point is the best part of this one. The full release price is going to be $5.99, but the pre-release price right now is $2.39. So I am going to be picking this one up, by the way, because the pre-release price is only $2.39. It's 60% off for the pre-release. Now that's a pre-release that's worth taking a chance on. But honestly, I think that if you can get, obviously if you're playing against a computer, I think your mileage will be very short with this one. But if you have a friend or two to pick up the controller with and play, I think it is going to be very, very interesting. Now, I just want to see something for fun, though, on the Canadian eShop. Let me just check something really quick. Casual. I want to know if I have to buy a card for this one. Sports hockey. Now, by the way, there's no online. It is only offline, which is maybe the biggest downside that I saw to this one. But to be honest, at $5.99, I don't think, like, as a regular price, I don't think we could have expected, like, a lot of online play here. So you need to pick it up with a friend and play locally. But is the price the same in Canada? Oh yeah, it's 60% off in Canada too. There's obviously the exchange rate, but I don't actually need to pick up because I didn't want to have to buy a US card for like $2. You know what I mean? But I'm gonna try it. You know, it could be a fun little game. And if I review it, I'm not gonna do a review. I'm just gonna do like a highlight. I'm gonna give it a score, but I'm gonna do also one of those off the cuff reviews like I did for SpongeBob, but a short one where I just talk about the fun stuff. Yeah, I know. I'm definitely gonna try it. Don't worry, Nexus Creed. I'm Canadian. Gotta play my hockey game. So this is our last of the games that I think have a high potential. Now, next, we're going to talk about the one game that, please, for God, wait for a review, because it is brought to us by the same developers or publishers, I'm not going to say developers, as SpongeBob, SquarePants, the Patrick Star game. Okay? So it is Transformers Galactic Trials, and I forgot to take down the price, so give me just a sec. It's another $39.99 game from Outright Games. So please, if you haven't seen my the Patrick Star game review, go watch it. You'll understand why I'm saying it is. Yes, it is very. They are coming very close to Game Mill. Okay. The performance on Switch sometimes really sucks for their games. And the worst is the games actually, like gameplay-wise, performance-wise, play well on the PS5. Because SpongeBob, by the way, doesn't have the problems I had on the PS5. It plays well on the PS5. There's no frame rate issues and whatnot. The game itself is still boring. However, instead of getting a 2 out of 10 like I gave it in my review, on PS5, I probably would have given it somewhere around a 5. Like, it's really like one of those like ho-hum games where it's not awful, it's not bad, but with the performance on the Switch, it drops like to the bottom of the barrel. But the problem is that they port games to the Switch, but they don't really try to make an effort to make the game run well on the Switch. So I'm very worried that this game, although it seems like it has some gameplay potential, it most likely is going to be very rough on the Switch. And we have Rodrigo with another donation of 1,100 CLP. Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you so much. I don't know if the notifications are not going off. I feel like they haven't been going off for the last few ones. Give me a sec here. Let's watch the trailer. I'll check for it after, and I will make sure that everyone gets their notifications right away after if they didn't pop up. Okay? So this is Transformers Galactic Trials. Sorry, I forgot to give the release date. It is releasing October 11th, and sales price, I set it $39.99, which sets it extremely expensive.
3,
I love Transformers 2, by
2,
the way.
1. Let the galactic trials begin. Race in alt mode. Fight in bot mode.
The gameplay looks super stiff. No
Play
problem,
as an
Psychosis. Have a
Autobot.
great one. We're about to wrap up anyway, my friend.
Or as a Decepticon. Play solo. Play against a friend. Transformers Galactic Trials.
Okay. Now, the more I look at it, I'll be
Galactic
honest with you, the gameplay looks extremely stiff, especially the shooting sections. Like, look at this here. This I think this was one of the worst ones. Like, look at it.
Fight in bot
It
mode.
looks super stiff. But so I'm not even sure the gameplay looks that good. But the thing is, I'm almost sure that it's gonna have trouble to run on the on the Nintendo Switch. Like if SpongeBob had trouble running, and they do the same kind of port job here for this one, it is guaranteed that it's not gonna run any better. Give me just a sec, guys. I'm just gonna make sure that everyone gets their notifications, like I said, really quick. Okay, here we go. Okay, so there we go. Rodrigo Tegade should be coming up next. Nexus Creed. And yeah, Frenchie Mom, we got yours, but there we go. So sorry about that, guys. I don't know what was wrong with the notifications there, but they seem to have freezed up there for a second. But yeah, so Transformers Galactic Trials, guys, do not buy this. Guys and gals, do not buy this till you get reviews, okay? And Nintendo Switch reviews. Be very careful if you watch like IGN and all that, not because they're not trustworthy, although, you know, I like more or less their reviews, but more because they often test out the best version of the game, like the PS5 version, like they did for SpongeBob. By the way, they gave SpongeBob a 5 on the PS5, but they didn't have the performance issues we had on the Switch. So make sure if you buy one with, if you do watch a review, make sure it's for the Switch. By the way, thank you once again, Frenchie Mom, for another gifted sub, man. You are awesome. Thank you so much. Tegade, member for 21 months. Thank you so much, my friend. You just want to mess me up. Well, it's fine. It's fine. I managed to keep it going there. So, yeah. Transformers Galactic Trials. I don't think the game is going to be that good altogether. And I do seriously think we're going to have trouble on the Nintendo Switch. But there we have it. I'm going to try to do this from time to time as well. Who said don't forget something here? Don't forget Metaphor Refantasio. What the hell is Metaphor Refantasio? That's coming out this week? I might have missed it. Is that coming out on the Switch? Metaphor Refantasio. Dude, are you messing with me? Is it because I don't see it on the eShop? Steam. It's not coming out on the Switch from what I can see. Am I mistaken here? I really just don't see it on the Switch. Give me a sec. If someone can find the link to the Switch page, let me know. The reviews are great from what I can see. Everything I see here says it is not coming to Switch. Like, this is the official page. like, yeah, this is the official page. Metaphor Fantasio, October 11th. Xbox Series XS, Windows, PS5, PS4, and Steam. No problem, man. Look, if I would have missed one, I would have missed one. It happens. It happens to everyone. Yeah, I just quickly, while searching around, I saw 9 out of 10s from a lot of outlets. So apparently it's going to be great. You know what though? This reminds me of I remember seeing it somewhere though. Like that sort of rings a bell now. Like, because I remember seeing it because yeah, it was like it felt like Persona like, but here it really doesn't say Switch. Does it have maybe a delayed release on the Switch? You know what? I'll search this up, guys. We will check this out next week. Like, I'll come back to this next week and talk about it. Maybe it's going to be on the Switch successor because it runs on PS4. So if it runs on PS4, it's going to run on the Switch successor if it's anywhere near the specs we saw. But either way, honestly, I think we have a, once again, pretty quiet week on the Switch. I do think that our biggest release for this week is going to be Europa. So definitely, I would keep my eyes out for reviews on that one. I think it's the one that's most worth it. The hockey game is just going to be pure fun. Other than that, I want to thank you all for coming for tonight. I do think we're going to leave it here. Sorry for that I was late. Yesterday, I just had a lot of 9 to 5 job stuff to do at night, and I was honestly not going to have time to prepare. So it was either do a podcast totally unprepared and like have crappy content, or delay it one day and make sure that I have all the content, all the content I wanted to have. So, hey, you guys spoiled me tonight with all the freaking gifted subs, the donations. Thank you so much. No joke. It really helps support the channel. And it really, like, I love doing these podcasts and, it makes it easier to do. I'm not going to lie. Thank you so much for coming for tonight. Have a great one. And as usual, I hope I'll see all of you in my next video. Have a great one, guys.